Well, hello everyone. We are live with another episode of Level Up Law. Every Tuesday at noon, South Carolina Legal Services is leveling up your legal knowledge, and of course, today is no exception. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. I'm attorney Susan Ingalls, your host of Level Up Law today, and I'm joined, as always, by our excellent producer, Kenneth Elliott of our IT department here at South Carolina Legal Services. So today we welcome Gary Moore, who's the Assistant Dean of Academic Technology at the University of South Carolina School of Law. Gary has been leading the law school's technology systems and strategy for quite a few years. And, you know, as lawyers and citizens and business leaders and so on, it is so important to know about the kind of work that Gary does, because as we all know, we're in a fast-paced, technology-driven world, and things are happening at lightning speed all the time. So this is going to be a really interesting interview to see what they're doing at the USC School of Law. Looking forward to hearing about creating and implementing strategies, things they're doing at the law school, not only to help law students, but help our community in general. So thanks for being with us, Gary.
Well, Susan, thanks so much for having me. It's an honor to be part of working with South Carolina Legal Services. And thanks for having me on and showing the great things that our academic technology department is doing here at the School of Law. As you said, not just for the students, but for the legal community. And that's a great part of what we do.
Well, excellent. Let me just give a quick reminder to our audience that we will post a recording of this interview on our YouTube channel under the Level Up Law playlist, and we'll include links to some of the things that Gary will be talking about. So stay tuned for that, and definitely if you find this information valuable, which I'm sure you will, please share it with others and make sure that you like and subscribe and sign up for alerts and all that great stuff on YouTube. We really appreciate it when you do that. So Gary, let's just jump right in and explain for our audience what's actually involved in your role at the law school in the area of academic technology.
Well, since August 2012, which will be 9 years next month, I've been the Assistant Dean for Academic Technology for the School of Law. I've been responsible for the School of Law's academic technology strategy and implementing technologies that enhance teaching, learning, and scholarship within the law school. We also provide technology, I guess you could say, guidance and information to the legal community, our alumni. I also provide oversight for academic technology systems, equipment, and services for the School of Law. So one of my main responsibilities when I came here was to help design and implement the technology in our, I always still say, the new School of Law building. It's now 4 years old. It opened in May of 2017. And a key part of that was helping to design the audio infrastructure with the University of Division IT Classroom Technology, and also Adam Martin, who's now our Director of Academic Technology for the School of Law, and designing the audio and visual infrastructure for the school, for our classrooms and our conference rooms. We built the AV infrastructure with asynchronous teaching in mind. However, that infrastructure that we designed, which includes, ceiling microphones, cameras in the courtroom, classrooms and courtrooms, we have courtrooms too, and smart podium equipment, which is tied in each classroom, like floor has, each of the classrooms are tied into an AV closet for that floor. And so that's integral when we were doing recording for classes, so we had proper sound and proper video. So when COVID hit, we actually was able to adapt that from an asynchronous to a synchronous. So we were teaching classes what we call high flex, which was in-person students and remote students using our AV infrastructure setup, and it worked out very well. And it could be either what we were using, Zoom or Teams, or what's known as Blackboard Collaborate, which is what we use for our Legal Tech Seminar series, which I'll talk about a bit more in a second. So that was one of the key things, and it really helped us in the past year since COVID. As I just noted, I'm also the administrator for the Legal Tech Seminar Series, which started in fall 2015. It's our 6-year anniversary, birthday, whatever you want to call it, and I'll talk about that more in a little bit. I also help teach some courses. I help teach technology in the practice of law, which was started by Dr. Greg Adams in spring 2014, and now I help teach it with an alum, Anthony D'Elia. And also I provide technical support and advice for Professor Bryant Walker Smith's Law, the Newly Possible class. So that's some of the things we do.
I've got a busy schedule, and I can definitely vouch for the AV system at the law school. We were just there last week in partnership with you guys, filming some great courtroom videos in the old historic courtroom there, which we'll be sharing out with our viewers hopefully sometime soon. But it's just really well done. The microphone, all the audio, the visual. Y'all did a great job setting all that up, and it's hard to believe it's been open for as an alumnus of the law school. It's hard to believe that it was only 4 years ago, or that it was that long ago that that the law school opened up. So it's great that you were really in there for that right at the start to make sure that the school had what it needed to do what you guys are doing now. You know, the switch to synchronous learning and all is something that's been a struggle in all areas of education, and law school is no exception, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so we would love to hear a little more about some of the programs that y'all are doing, some of the events you've and things like that that you've created as part of academic technology and your outreach just to the legal community and the community, business community in general. So tell us a little bit about what you got going on.
So we were, it's fortunate being the flagship law school for the state of South Carolina, and having the State House and the courthouses right here has helped greatly to develop relationships with the legal community. And one of the key things is that we started in the fall 2015, the Legal Tech Seminar Series, and that runs every spring and fall semester. And it's a regularly scheduled 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. seminar series on Wednesday mornings, now virtual, on how technology affects the law. The series features guest lecturers who are prominent experts in various legal technology fields. And they're CLE seminars, so they're good for CLE credit, not just for South Carolina, but I mean, I can tell you Florida accepts our CLE, Michigan, New York, a number of bar jurisdictions, accept our CLE credit, and they're low cost to the legal community. And actually, all the money that goes to our Carolina Scholarship Fund that helps current students. So we don't, everything goes right straight to scholarship funding. And it's also free to the University of South Carolina faculty, staff, and students, entire campus. And you've been a guest speaker in that series, talking about what you do at Lead, and so we run the gamut of experts in various fields of cybersecurity. I'm going to talk about a little bit about data analytics in a second. Some of our past speakers have been about, data analytics, cybersecurity, as I mentioned, EDiscovery. We've run the gamut, and we're going to talk about what we're doing this semester with the whole academic year of this SC Council on Competitiveness. We're really looking forward to that. We've also been very much involved in the cybersecurity task force that the University School of Law has. And so we've been working in the backgrounds, like the webinars that we've done, and also our annual institutes, our legal cybersecurity institutes that we had in April 2019, March 2020, and we're hoping to have that again next year. So that's some of the things we're working on. Do you want me to talk on some of the new initiatives we're working on as well?
Yeah, I was going to say, obviously, this is something that we're all interested in very much as lawyers, whether it's cybersecurity or all the different presentations you've had. I know there's been a lot of different topics that have been covered. And I know, you're always leveling up the legal tech for us and here at Legal Services for lawyers, not just in South Carolina, but, across the country, as you said. You mentioned so many other states that are, really getting the benefit of what you're doing. So yeah, tell us about some new initiatives that you're working on now.
Okay, so one of the first things I'm working on is that the law school as a whole is working on a signature professional development program that's going to help students focus on skills like life skills, financial responsibility, leadership, wellness, and technology. So what I'm working in particular for part of what I'm working on is for the program is that for the second fall semester in a row, I'm helping to teach the first year class intro to legal profession, which is required of all first year students. And some of the things we're doing, students in the class will be required to take the Procertus Legal Tech Assessment. That's a software company. Procertus is used by many law schools and actually law firms and actually a couple of bars. I believe Florida is one of them. They will be required to take the word assessment and then get qualified or expert on that. And that's something you can use actually in their job hunt searching. You can put that on the badge. It's a badge from Acclaim, which is a well-known third-party vendor with badges and certifications, and that's good for 3 years. And they have to require for the class to pass the class to get qualified or expert in the word assessment. We also will have 3 guest lecturers in the class. We did this last year as well. There will be one on data privacy. The second will be on the National Advocacy, our relationship with the National Advocacy Center, and I'll talk about that a little bit more in a second, including technology used in trials and trial preparation. And then also that second lecture, we're going to have a guest on transactional lawyering as it relates to technology. And the third lecture will be on cybersecurity. And the lectures on data privacy and cybersecurity will be given by 2 of our School of Law alums and also past speakers of our Legal Tech Seminar Series, Jack Pringle and Karen Pina-Randall. So
2 good ones.
Yes, 2 very good ones. And actually, Jack will probably be speaking again in the Legal Tech Seminar Series this fall. Jack is, is a great speaker and just, very giving alum and of his time and greatly appreciate his support. So speaking of the Legal Tech Seminar Series, so this year in partnership with the South Carolina Council on Competitiveness, we're going to present the Fall 2021 Legal Tech Seminar Series, and it's going to be based on South Carolina's innovation and adoption of emerging technologies and the legal landscape this creates. And we're going to have a very dynamic group of presenters from the legal community, industry experts and innovators, and legal and technical academic minds to provide valuable insight on innovation and technical advancements taking place in South Carolina and the effects that this progress has on law. So we're really excited. The folks like with Callie Price and Susie Shannon, and we're really looking forward to that. So that should be great, and we'll have that on our website, law.sc.edu/legaltech. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we'll have you can sign up and register for those.
Yeah, as lawyers, it's not just that we need to be embracing technology and innovation, but we need to realize that our community and our clients, it's a really important part of how they're operating. And as lawyers, we definitely need to be prepared for that and really have a good understanding. So it's great that y'all are doing what you're doing, getting into that area.
Yeah, and there's now, I believe, 39 states that require tech competency. We were number 38. I think California is now 39. So it behooves our legal community to understand the technology they use on a daily basis and the technology that very much will affect how they practice law and in the future. And that's what we try to provide the legal community here, as well as our law students and other, the public as well. The public can gladly come and take the seminars as well. So a couple other things we're doing is we're really blessed that we have the National Advocacy Center, the Department of Justice, NAC, right as our next door neighbor, and they have been wonderful in developing a relationship with us. Several of their staff attorneys actually teach here. Mark Folkert teaches EDiscovery, and Mark Yancey teaches a capstone class for us. So we've been working with them on expanding our relationship. And so in the spring, our trial advocacy classes are now going to be 3 credits. And 1 credit is going to be on technology training. So on trial preparation and use of trial software in in trials. And so we have now a license, thanks to our relationship with folks at the NAC, with the trial director. The makers of trial director provided free 100 licenses that we can use for our classes and our trial advocacy classes. And we've installed the software even on our Commons computers, so our students who are in the trial advocacy can use that. And they're going to actually provide the training. The NAC folks are going to provide the training on that software and other trial preparation software. So we're really excited about that in the spring. And that adds to our...
Because, it's so important when the law students go out into the, world of practicing law, and to have that kind of hands-on experience, and also to really have it, some of that kind of be required as part of what they're doing. They can't really escape getting that kind of, that kind of experience and knowledge before graduating law school. Tell our listeners, or viewers, I should say, a little bit more about the National Advocacy Center and who runs that and what they do there.
Well, it's the Department of Justice, and they do a lot of training there. So the National Advocacy, they train their attorneys on cases they'll be working on and how they should prepare cases. So that's really, the National Advocacy Center is a training center, an arm of the Department of Justice.
So they have attorneys come from all over the country to train there to do what they do when they go back home, right?
And some of my friends actually, have actually been guest speakers, guest trainers, like Professor Alifair Burke at Hofstra Law has been a trainer at the NAC. And so, it's to have, not many schools can say they have a working relationship with the Department of Justice in their backyard.
Yeah, it's so great.
Seriously, it's a great thing to have, and they're wonderful people to work with. I've worked with Mark Yancey now for the last couple of years, and they're just good people, and they're wanting to help our students. And I just, I encourage our students to take advantage of this.
For sure. Some of our staff here, our attorneys here at SCLS, a couple of times in the last number of years actually went over there and served as some additional, opponents for those who were training there. And so we were excited to volunteer and fill in, but also to get the experience ourselves for our staff attorneys of, doing training in the same way that the U.S. attorneys come there and train, and doing oral arguments with one of the panels of judges and all. It's really great what they do there, and they kind of like what y'all done at the law school. All the bells and whistles they have with the technology, as I recall, the time that I did it was great. And I remember some of those who were there for training said that even in their room where they were staying, they could link to watch the other arguments that they were not involved in. So they got not only their own training that they were doing, but they also saw what some of the other lawyers there were doing just by flipping on the television, I guess, in their room. And I thought that was great, because you could absorb as much training and knowledge as you were willing to, take the time to do. So that is also a great example of the use of technology over there. So I know that's going to be a great partnership for y'all. Love it.
I agree. We really look forward to it. And it's part of our partnership of, the trial advocacy is expanding our, our technology law curriculum. We have about 13 courses right now that are on, that involve technology and how the law responds to, incorporates, and affect the development of technologies. The trial advocacy course will actually be 14, with that, and we're adding. I was talking to Associate Dean Susan Quo today. We're adding cybersecurity. So I'm talking about 13 existing courses right now, not including trial advocacy in the spring, not including cybersecurity, which is going to be taught by our our former dean, Robert Wilcox, who is really, really he's one of the main drivers behind the cybersecurity task force, and he's become really an expert on that. So, I mean, our students are going to be really fortunate when he teaches that in the spring. And we're looking at a couple other courses as well. So we're just expanding our curriculum. We're hoping to have a technology law concentration down the road. One of the classes I want to highlight in particular for this fall is a new class that we're doing on data privacy. And the class is being taught by the interim chief privacy officer for the state of South Carolina, David Sillavilla. I mean, you can't ask for anything better than that. And David is a past speaker in the Legal Tech Seminar Series. David spoke on drones and privacy, and it was an amazing talk because you never think of drones and data privacy. Drones, as he noted, like one of the key things with drones is that they host data. They're actually collecting data, the drones. So fascinating talk, and to have the interim chief privacy officer of the state of South Carolina teaching a class on data privacy, I think it's a feather in our cap.
I am sure there's no shortage of subject matter for your legal tech series, because every single one, because I'm on the email and I get the notifications of all of them, and I'm like, wow, another good topic every time I see one. And I'm sure the list is long for the ones that you're gonna do in the future. That's cybersecurity. That's so important, to us as lawyers, but also just as a real important part of the field of technology these days. We're seeing that so often. So tell me, what do you think has been the most important application of technology for or in the legal field?
I think there are three things, but the most important thing by far, due to COVID in the past, especially COVID in the past year, has been video conferencing. So the acceptance of video conferencing, in daily life of lawyers, not just virtual meetings, but depositions, and the acceptance by courts to do virtual court cases. I mean, I'm sure everybody now knows the term, I am not a cat. That's just, it's become the acceptance by courts to do that because they saw the need to have these cases adjudicated, for want of a better term, and you just could not do it in person, during what was going on with the pandemic. So it's significantly changed how lawyers do business on a daily basis. So I think the other two, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I really think that our judiciary has definitely embraced that. That certainly has been my experience. And, also there's been a lot of, I guess, a little bit of a cottage industry of people who are helping lawyers do better at the virtual court and the virtual conferences, especially when it comes to court. I know I watched a webinar with several federal court judges who were just excellent, explaining for the lawyer audience how best to approach the different parts of the trial when you're doing it virtually. Now, I think a lot of us prefer the in-person, but I think the virtual is gonna still be around for a little while. And here at Legal Services, we were kind of ready for that, but even so, still had to kind of bump things up with our different platforms we were using. And so that's been great, not only for court, but also for client communication. So that's been really great. So what else?
I think the two other technologies have been the use of AI and research and EDiscovery. I think that's been very important. I think EDiscovery has become a very important technology from speed, efficiency, and aspects. And the other thing I think I am seeing a lot more, and we actually had a seminar this past fall on this, is data analytics, and being able to predict cases to the outcome of cases where like personal injury litigation, or be in far as workers' compensation, and being able to go back and see the history of doctors' opinions on that, and to get to pick doctors who had more favorable opinions on certain things. I mean, that was the Insurance Defense Incubator by MGC, and McAngus, Gulak, and Curry, Jason Lockhart and friends there. We also had that 2 years ago. There's a startup in Mount Pleasant, dispute resolution data, and they do arbitration cases. So, I mean, really to use data analytics and to be able to predict cases and outcomes. As Ed Walters said, no longer the malpractice of hunches. Having data to say, hey, this is how based on the past historical data, this is how your case is going to go. You may want to settle here. I'm just using that as an example.
Right.
So, yeah, I think
it's great to have a little backup when you're having that conversation with a client, more than just like your own personal experience or research, but to say people have looked at this,
Yeah.
knowledgeable people have gathered this data, and I can tell you this based on that. And I think that's good for the clients. It's not just good for the lawyers to have that backup, but it's good for the clients to, really get beyond their own view of what should happen in their case, but to get to what's probably going to happen in their case. And isn't it amazing that can be done?
And that's what clients want now. They want data.
Mm-hmm.
They're coming to you for not just your expert opinion, but data. And if you're giving them hunches, they're going to, when you meet with them originally, they're going to go to somebody else who's going to give them hard data.
Yeah.
That's what the clients now want. So, I mean, to have the ability to have that data to meet your client's needs is tantamount, in my opinion. Ed Walters would tell you that.
Well, that's exciting stuff. Tell us some more about some of the programs and platforms that y'all are using to prepare the law students.
Sure. So I talked about it briefly in the intro legal profession, that we have a license with Procertus for legal tech assessments to allow students to become technologically proficient in legal office technology, which is Word, PowerPoint, Excel, and Acrobat PDF, which I think is, to me is critical, because I mean, if you saw the Paul Manafort case, or a couple of years ago, and his attorneys not properly redacting. Recently, not too long, the attorneys, the U.S. attorneys with Rudy Giuliani's case, that they didn't properly redact, and so that I can tell you, having taught it, the demos for classes on, and having taught the Acrobat, it's not difficult, but there's a number of attorneys who don't know how to properly redact. And so being able to be proficient in legal, in office technology software, that means you're spending less time on the software, and you're doing, basic, drafting legal documents and things. It's more time advising your clients. So it's about efficiency and speed. Some other things like, we have a lot of classes that do interviewing, counseling, and negotiation. So one of the software, license we use, and it's our video content management system, is Panopto. And so you can actually students can actually record on their laptops, either via the web browser or through software. And what we do for our interviewing, counseling, and negotiation classes, they record their mock negotiations with students, and then they upload it to our, the secure server, Panopto server, and our faculty review them and timestamp. So this is a way to our students can learn, how to properly, mediate, negotiate, and interview clients in cases. We have software that we use for our wills, trusts, and estates, Logic, and for our classes that we have on our software. And like I said, also we have Trial Director that we're using now, and also we have a free license with Relativity, the online EDiscovery platform that we use for our EDiscovery class and our trial, our trial advocacy classes. So we have several things that we are using that help our students become more proficient in using technology.
That's so great, because when you think about law students graduating and getting ready, even before graduating, they're doing job interviews and things, and I feel like one of the age-old questions is why do you want to be a lawyer? But I feel like now the most important question is, how prepared are you to be a 21st century lawyer? Like, what do you know how to do besides make legal arguments? I think technology is a big piece of what law firms and just employers of lawyers are really looking for.
Yeah, and as I noted, I help teach technology in the practice of law, and I have a number of alums from that class, just from that class, who've become the go-to folks in their firm. John Weldy, who graduated a couple of years ago, took our class, and he works in a small firm up in Spartanburg. And he's the go-to person. I mean, I was talking with him, we were emailing back and forth not too long ago about some EDiscovery and how long it would take to do Outlook searches and things like that. So, I mean, technology proficiency, I used a key term, and I've heard some of our legal tech seminar speakers say that, differentiates yourself.
Yes.
Being competent in technology, being proficient in technology, differentiates yourself when you're going for a job nowadays.
Right.
And
when you go to CLEs and they're talking about EDiscovery, which is a really important topic and always very full audience, but you always notice that there's a lot of people in the audience that partway into it, their eyes are glazing over because they just can't, they're not ready to grasp it. Eventually, eventually I think you do if you want to, but to already be prepared for that and not be, having to learn it as an, older or experienced lawyer, that's just invaluable, I think. So for just the reasons that you're saying.
Yeah, and I've exactly seen in legal tech seminars where when we used to have them in person, I've seen what you said with some of the attorneys and looking, like just, deer in headlights. And it's so important. I mean, I remember even the speaker came up to me afterwards and said, did you see the audience? I said, yes. And I said, there's a real opportunity for our students here. And she's an alum. So I can't stress it enough. I mean, take advantage of the software opportunities, applications you have here, take advantage of technology. So one of the key things I always, I have students and, who were not technology proficient. Leslie Snyder is an alum who I've done some work here and, in the courts. Leslie was a terrific student in our technology practice law class. And she would tell you, I mean, she learned so much. I mean, and I have a number of students who said, I wasn't technology proficient, but I wanted to have, become that or learn that and, how it affects the law. And it's helped them greatly. So, so I tell students, even if you're not technology competent or you don't feel proficient, take the classes. It'll help you. And I think, you'll find, a lot of alums who've taken the class, like technology and practice law and law and impossible, have enjoyed the classes. So I just, I can't stress that enough. You don't need to be technology proficient to take a technology and law course here. It can help you. So don't be, if you're like, well, I'm not very good with computers, take the class. I have a number of students, now alums, who I know, they said that to me, like, but I wanted to learn, I wanted to know this, and it helped them greatly.
Yeah, no doubt. It's so great that y'all are providing that, and it's just a matter of checking that box to take that class and having that opportunity to become, more proficient. Well, you've touched a little bit on this, but let's just briefly touch on the pandemic and how that has affected the use of technology in the legal field. I feel like we've touched on it a little bit, but what's the impact, do you think?
I think it's significant. I mean, it's remote access. I mean, that's really what lawyers are doing now. I mean, the pandemic, you don't need to be in an office. You can use video conferencing. You can use VPN, secure, software connections to connect to your office. It's really changed the nature of how lawyers do business on a daily basis. The pandemic really opened eyes to that, and I don't foresee that changing. I mean, excellent examples are legal tech seminar series. We used to have them in person. I can give you my word, it will never be in person again. There may be some special ones because we've expanded our audience by being virtual. It's, I mean, even though we're like Wednesdays, it was past Thursdays, 8 to 9. It's so much easier to be able to do that from your desk, from your office, or if you're home, to connect to our seminars. And, we've been able to actually expand our pool of, speakers. I mean, Jason Smith was a guest speaker, he's out in Texas. So it's expanded our pool of seminar speakers too, so you don't have to be in person. So, I can't that has been really I think the major difference using cloud-based technology, e-discovery platforms like Relativity. You don't have to be in the office to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's also opened up the security concerns, or address, because you now have, the key thing of using VPNs to have a secure connection. So because of the rise of ransomware and nation state attacks and malware attacks, and so like one of the other key things, like vetting third-party vendors that you have, that they've been a lot of cloud providers. Like I remember one, I think it was a cloud provider for dentists' offices backed up. They were hacked. So I mean, it's also taught lawyers that they have to be more secure in their client communications using case management software like Clio or Rocket Manager, practice management, and being able to have a secure portal with your clients. Encrypting your laptops, using password managers. I mean, I think you remember we did a Halloween tech tip or treat. Trick or treat. And I spoke briefly on password managers. It was like Jack Pringle, Eve Ross, Boolean searching. It's another key thing, like legal research, online. So yeah, security has become very tantamount, very important in regards to what now you're doing all the remote work that you're using. So.
And I feel like all of that was coming anyway, or even already here, where people were preparing, to be able to do more of a virtual way of practicing. But in a way, I guess the pandemic kind of made us really leapfrog into fully use, and for everyone to be accepting of it. There's a lot of negative things about the pandemic, but I guess we can find a few kernels of positive things, and it really did force folks to embrace the need for that, and just to go ahead and jump into practicing that way if they weren't already. And the courts as well.
You touched on something really important there, the court acceptance, willing to do that. I mean, I remember like when we still used WebEx, Judge Duncan's like, I'm used to using WebEx. I'm like, yeah, like, because that's what the court system uses. I'm like, okay, we're good. I mean, we don't use WebEx anymore. I mean, we use, Blackboard Collaborate, and we're using Zoom. We have licenses currently with Zoom. Yeah, the court acceptance, that was so key. And that enabling lawyers to have the trials and all that. Is just, yeah, that helped greatly.
Well, and I know I'm probably kind of repeating myself, but if you can just, describe for me the law student of today, when it comes, I mean, traditionally, I was at USC Law School quite a number of years ago, and it was very different. We were still looking things up in books in the library to some degree. Now we were, using Lexis and things like that, but not to any great degree, I would say. So do you think, it sounds to me like from what you're saying, they are ready, or at least y'all are getting them ready if they want to be, for that integration of law and technology. So
yeah, I think they're much, I mean, Susan, I've been doing this for 28 years, legal, working in law school and as a technology assistant, I'm an assistant dean and administrator. So I've seen all the changes you've talked about too. I mean, reliance heavily on books fading away and using electronic resources, and not just Lexis and Westlaw, like Fastcase and Bloomberg and things like that. Yeah, what I've seen now with students is, I think it's just the key things is learning the proficiency in software, doing your legal research online. Like our clinics use Clio for case management. So, I mean, that's a great thing that they're already using a case management system in clinics for their cases. And also our externship program as well. Now adding the trial director software, and using Relativity for EDiscovery. And then just taking the classes and learning password managers and learning encryption. I mean, if you look at like the HIPAA notifications, if you go like the HIPAA site and you know, and all the fines that they've had to give out to, you know, medical, you know, firms and all that, even universities, because they didn't fail to encrypt a laptop that had PHI on it. You know, so you know, we have a CHAMPS clinic that we have that, you know, with our medical legal partnership with Prisma Health. And one of the first things we did, you know, for a while we were a business associate and we were required to, we set up a separate network and we encrypted all the, you know, students' laptops and encrypting the drives and things to secure, you know, and restricting our browsers to like just the Prisma Health site. So I mean that's things that we've done here, and the students get to, you know, understand how the important of securing your hardware, your communications when you're dealing with, you know, PHI or PII as a lawyer. Those are things, you know, that benefit you when you need to learn as a student than you come as a lawyer.
And I'm sure that given everything that you guys are providing for the law students at USC Law School, it's probably the exception rather than the rule that you have a graduate that doesn't have at least some really good working knowledge of the technology that they can put to use in law practice.
I think I agree with you. I think as the, you know, the past few years have come about, especially now we're getting how we're working with the first year students, and you know by the end of the, you know, this fall, I mean 2/3 of our students will have taken the legal tech assessment. You know, we had them take, or at least one legal tech assessment, and now we're requiring a qualified or expert, you know, this year. So I mean, as the years go by, and if we continue to use Procertus, you know, they'll all at least be proficient in one. You know, I'm hoping that they all take advantage of it, because they don't need to take a class to do an LTA. But I think it's not just also being proficient in software, but proficient in knowing the rules that, you know, ABA model rules on, you know, confidentiality and things like that, and understanding like, hey, when I like, you know, communicating with, you know, my client, I might want to encrypt this email. You know, I may want to encrypt the attachment there, and it's so simple in Outlook. You just do parentheses encrypt, or click on the button that says encrypt. So I mean, things like that. And so technology has helped you become more proficient, but knowing how technology affects the law, you know, whether it's, you know, health law and technology, Jesse Cross teaches that, Professor Jesse Cross. You know, some other classes like Elizabeth Chambliss teaches a lot of access, you know, an access to justice class. You know, and a number of our other classes that we teach currently, that, you know, just counting, you know, bioethics is another class we teach. So I mean, understanding that and how it's going to affect it, and that's very helpful too. So it's not just being proficient with software, but technology, but also understanding how technology will affect things.
Right. Yeah,
I mean, another great example would be algorithmic bias in sentencing.
Yeah. Well, boy, Gary, it sounds like you have got the law students as well as the community well positioned for being leaders in the field, not just of law, but in the world of technology and what you guys are doing there. It has been really enlightening and exciting to hear about all the different things you're doing, some of which I knew about and some of which I didn't. So it's always great to hear. I know y'all are always, you know, wanting to make sure that the students and the community are getting the most information and practicality, you know, that you can offer. So congrats to you guys at University of South Carolina School of Law, and particularly your academic technology department. We sure do appreciate you being with us today. This has been great information for our audience in general to know, you know, what lawyers are learning and what they should be able to do for clients, and also for the lawyer audience to see what's happening and what they can look for in law graduates as they come out of USC. So thanks so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. And I want to let our listeners know again that this interview will be on our playlist on YouTube for Level Up Law. And we appreciate you being with us. Next week, we will have our excellent employment law attorney, Charlotte Osmer, who will be giving us a presentation on employment law, which I think looks to be very interesting for our viewers. So stay tuned for that. You know, you can always find out what's going to be next on Level Up Law by checking on our calendar on our website at sclegal.org, or of course following us on social media where you'll get those notifications. So definitely do that. So just a reminder there. So before we conclude today's webinar, I want to thank our audience for tuning in. And Gary, thank you again so much for being with us.
Well, Susan, thank you so much. Just going to say two quick things for those, the legal community. Again, our legal tech seminars, you can go to law.sc.edu/legaltech and keep checking on that. There's a listserv. You can join us on that, and you can email me at gmore, Gmoore, at law.sc.edu. And finally, I want to say one thing, Susan. I always believe, and especially in the case of Columbia, the world revolves around three things: law, technology, baseball.
I can't disagree with that. Thanks so much for being with us, Gary. Take care.
Thank you, Susan.
That concludes today's webinar.